call to order the Ford County Commission meeting for September 20th, 2021. This will be meeting number 2021-34. Begin with the prayer. Our pledge will lead us in prayer, and then the pledge of allegiance.
Let us pray. For the word of God is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believes in the name of Jesus. Lord Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come together. We thank you for the opportunity to serve the public. We ask that you continue to give us wisdom and help the leaders to accomplish the tasks in the best keeping in what the public needs. And finally, Lord, we just ask that you continue to help us, continue to grow stronger in this county. Thank you for the blessings. Amen.
Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dr. Fletcher. First up, we have the consent agenda, approval of the minutes for meeting 2021-31 and 32, and approval of additions and abatements. Patty, would you like to come up and talk to us about the additions and abatements quickly?
A lot of these are personal property ones and they're ads. They're ones that we got maybe up the fish dealing for, maybe transfers, e-jets, etc. Or other reports that we get from the state, tag and title ones that they went and come to our office and we found them through the reports. So we call them the escaped ones, which should have been picked up. We didn't get. It's not a lot, but that's what we got. But taxes really come out, so I'll be coming up. These are ads. These are ads.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
That's not very often that happens.
No,
Right.
no. So that's what these are. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second.
Motion and second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have approval of claims for payment. Our amount today is $684,473.75. Anything of note? Okay. I make a motion, we approve the claims for payment as presented.
I second.
Motion and second, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All right, we have open public comment. The limit to 5 minutes per individual and 15 minutes per topic, with final action to be deferred until the next county commission meeting unless we deem that there is an emergency situation existing. Somebody? Taker.
I would like to take this opportunity to remind you that the Expo-produced event Doc Dogs is coming up this Friday. Kick off Friday afternoon and run Saturday and Sunday. We have worked really well with some the cities helping out by providing means to fill the pool. Chief Boyd is going to assist with that as well. We're also getting picnic tables, so everything's going well. We found out last week we have high registration for early registrants, so we anticipate well over 100 contestants for this, so we're really excited. So we just want to invite
Tell us what it is.
So Doc Dogs, it's a national organization, so the dogs will compete in 3 different categories. There'll be speed retrieve. Where's my cheat sheet?
Yeah.
They do speed retrieve, they do the big air wave where it's contests on how high they go to retrieve the bumper, and then that's extreme vertical. The big air is the distance that they jump from the dog. So it is an outside event. We encourage everybody to bring lawn chairs. Your own dogs are welcome to come as long as they're on a leash. It is a $2 admission, so that we do that as a way of tracking attendance. We have vendors, we have food truck, and Yeah, I'll get you some flyers. There's also some flyers out on the table out front, so I just wanted to remind everybody that takes place this weekend, Friday evening, through the weekend.
Thank you, Danielle.
Bet.
All right, anybody else for open public comment? Hearing none, we will move on. We have unfinished business, Santa Fe Trails, Community Corrections, budget classification, request to create a new position, or an additional position, I should say. So this was tabled from our last meeting, clarification on the source of funding and creating the position.
So the recommendation is to not approve this position at this time. We have to amend the budget, which is already set. So probably best course of action would be to revisit it during the next budget cycle.
Okay. Is there anything to add to that?
No, that does pretty good. Is there, okay, so the budget amount that we requested is what is being approved then? And when can we go forward to announcing the position for
Well, we haven't had a vote on it yet, but the recommendation right now is to not approve
Okay,
opening that position up until we have an opportunity to go through another budget cycle and work that, or to work that into your next budget. Because right now it's not budgeted.
Thoughts on
we currently have a very big need for that, and we expressed that. And, it was my understanding that submitting a request for the budget with this budget cycle was the way to go about doing it, and we did do that. And, so I guess, I believe that we've done everything that we can to present this to the board in a timely fashion. And, I guess it's up to you all to make that determination. But, the need is well established.
Pat, on your budget request,
Yes.
did you have it in your budget request, a budgeted amount for
For this position?
this position?
Yes, I did. I don't have it right there, but it was roughly about $54,000.
Okay. And is that not, where did that come in?
It's not included in the budget, what they actually budgeted. Now, the sheet notates there may be a need for the position. But again, what we have to keep in mind, the needs that are being expressed right now require more information, more time. I don't think that this would be the last request. I think there are other needs that he's communicating that they need. And the cost of that is gonna be significantly higher as far as being requested. So at this time, it would be best to wait. However, if you do approve the request, we'll have to amend the budget.
Okay, and if I understand correctly, you've got one position that's open right now.
That is correct. We did extend out a job offer, and we got the notification today that it was declined.
Okay, so upon your ability to fill that job position, that does help the situation if you can get that one filled, is that correct?
It
And that
does.
one's in your budget now?
That is in our budget now.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Any other thoughts, gentlemen?
I was just going back through my notes on it before, where you said you had 5 officers and basically 45 people to 1 on a visitation. So I was just going back through kind of the thought process a couple weeks ago. Let's see the budget notes. I don't have that.
I'm trying to remember what the case was too, Pat.
You had 126 people and you were up to 226 people.
We had,
who were-
we had 160 as of, I believe it was like 10 years ago when our budget from KBOC has been flat for the last 10 years. We're currently supervising about 223, 224 clients
That's
on
what
an
I
active
came up
basis.
with on that.
So it's a little bit more than 60 higher. And for intensive supervision, and keep it in mind, 10 years ago, the risk level, the risk of the clients that we were getting, probationers, were considerably less risky than what they are today that we're getting from the court. And we're 60 higher. On average, we try to keep the cases from about 25 to 30 probationers. Our newer ISOs are not capable of handling that many yet. And so we have already reassigned probationers to our more seasoned officers, which happen to be my supervisors, to be able to fill that need so that we're not, putting the public at risk for any type of safety issues because of supervision.
So 10 years ago, when you had 160 that you were overlooking, what was your staff load then? Like, what did it look like then?
We actually had 5 probation officers.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna open up some old wounds real quick, but when we gave the 8% raise,
Okay.
we dropped one of the probation officer positions so that we could provide that raise to staff to try to bring them up to the current level.
Okay.
And so we had an extra ISO position at that particular time,
So you closed the position,
so that I could
took
get.
that dollars, spread it throughout everybody?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. And now you're looking to,
Try to bring it back, correct.
Pat, in your estimation, what's the main holdup as far as trying to get the position that we have here filled?
Our positions require a 4-year college degree. And our beginning salary is $37,500. For people that locally can get a higher paying job for no college degree, I think that that's one of the things, is that we're not going to be attracting people from out of town to be able to come here and relocate for that amount of money. And so I think that it's the wage that we provide that's the biggest problem.
are you able to lift that 4-year requirement on a new position? I mean, is that a requirement of the state? Is that a requirement of Santa Fe? How's that?
We recently, when we got the planning allocations for fiscal year '22,
Yeah.
we were given the money to increase the wages to $38,000.
Okay.
There was a salary comparison that the county did, and they decided that the starting wage should be $37,500, so we didn't even go up to the amount that we were allocated to provide.
Okay.
So it's more of a county issue than it is a state issue. I know that the state is doing a current study right now, and are going to be looking at, talking to to the Senate about increasing the salary rate, wage for community corrections. They just did that with court services. Right now, there's about a $10,000 difference between what they're starting their people off and what we're starting our people off.
At Court Services?
Correct.
Wow.
And it's.
Okay, so going back to the thought of four-year degree, right?
Correct.
Is that a requirement that you can lift for this time?
We have another option,
Okay,
and it's for a lesser salary, and it's already established as a case manager.
okay.
That requires a 2-year degree.
Okay, so if you have a four-year, it's like a bump in pay?
Correct. It goes from 35,000 as a case manager to 37,500 as a,
Gotcha.
as an ISO.
Okay. Okay. Do you think you would be able to fill that position with someone, I guess, trying to think through Western Kansas, where we just maybe don't have a ton of, because there's no university out here, a ton of degrees, four-year degrees, like you said, you have to bring it from out of town in, or hope somebody moves back for family reasons, or pick up a spouse if they've got a job somewhere else that's good. If you could lower that to a 2-year degree, I mean, does that open it up to a bigger pool?
Well, we have it opened up to that,
Okay.
and yes, it does open it up to a larger pool. And that is what we have been going through for this last hiring. Actually, that's what we've been doing for probably the last several years. Just because, yeah, we need a bigger pool. And we are working with the local colleges, doing internships. I think that, that they've, that Sonia and Amanda just recently did like 2 or 3 interviews for internships to come out to the agency. It does provide additional hands, but also it gives them a direct experience with community corrections in our agency with hope that, that when they graduate, they,
Stay.
yes.
Yeah. That's good.
So Pat, Sonia, I think you guys know, I've always struggled with the relationship between state, county, Santa Fe Community Corrections, and how all of that comes together, and how you guys are funded through grants from the state and then and from us, and that's always been a struggle for me to keep my head around, number one. But you said that the state approved funding for salary up to 38,000 for that position that you were talking about. Is that correct? And that is a 4-year degree position.
Correct.
And I guess I'm wondering why we're now sitting here in front of the county when the state is funding that at so low. I mean, 38,000 seems pretty low to me for somebody that has a 4-year degree, in my estimation. I mean,
And that's a state requirement, right?
And
You're saying that's state.
that's
Right,
what the
and-
state has said that they would fund it
And the thing is that, at the state level, the way that they disperse the community corrections grants, they haven't received any more money coming in. We have 2 grants that we operate the adult office on, and we have 2 grants that we operate the juvenile office on. And because they haven't received any more funding from the state, that's been flat. When we get it, we develop the comprehensive plan to determine, through that budget, how we're going to allocate the money that they have allocated to our agency. And we have been fairly creative in how we've been able to manage the budget. About 5 years ago, we opened up our agency to be able to provide supervision to the juvenile services, which gave our ability to cut our administrative costs, well, in half, because we're able to distribute some of that administrative expenses to the juvenile office. So we were able to have our budget kind of increased as far as from salaries and benefits, just because we had that expense reduced. And it was a shared expense. Well, over the years, things just keep going up, except for the allocations that we receive.
Right.
And it's really kind of hard, because when we do the budget, I have to spend the money as we budget it, and it has to be proportioned by the way that we have it divided up in the grants. And so it's been a complicated thing, but, and I guess HR well, HR could look at the payroll and could tell you that when we're splitting up the salary because of 4 different grants, we covered it that way, it becomes pretty complicated. But we have to be able to show that we spent the money the way that we had it allocated to us. And so we have to trace it back to the grant that it was requested out of.
But just for clarification on the salary point that you just brought up, even though we were given the funding for the 38,000, we haven't been allowed to post a position for more than 37,500. So that's all that we're able to offer for salary at this point for a 4-year degree ISO position.
Because HR, is that who's helping you with that process?
I believe that there was
Or stopping you on that process?
Yes, I believe that Pat did a salary study of local agencies, I guess, and looked at what they were paying compared to what our salaries were paying, and, you know, she did bring it up to 37,500. It was 35,000, so I mean, it was an increase,
Okay,
but,
not what you were hoping for, not 38.
no. And when the state did the study, they're doing the study now, but that 38,000 came from them looking at what agencies across the state were paying, and there were about 5 agencies that they said, we need to bring up their base salary, and we were one of the 5.
So if you have it in your budget for a position to be 38, and they're telling you, somebody's telling you 37.5 or 37 or whatever it might be is the number you have to stay at, can't you advertise 38 if you're gonna pay at 38? Or are you not allowed to pay at 38? Is that what you're saying?
We're not allowed to pay
We
it.
have the funding from KDOC to pay 38, but because of the wage comparison, and because we're county controlled, we have to post it at 37.5.
Interesting.
This is the same process we use for all the departments. The issue we have without having a wage scale is this.
Yeah.
This is what we run into, because if the state is making a comparison across the state, that's not what we do. We don't compare ourselves to Kansas City.
No.
And I know we're not supposed to talk about personnel here, but I'm talking about myself. When we were talking about my contract, we were not, you guys know this, we weren't talking about the administrators in Kansas City. We weren't talking about the administrator in Douglas County. We weren't talking about those counties.
We're talking like size.
We were talking about like size. And so this is the same process we use for every single department. Every time we have an issue like this, is what we do.
Okay. Does the Department of Corrections, are they, I mean, when you talk, you know, obviously to them a lot, when you talk to them about your need and you have a need for a new position at a certain dollar amount, do they not look at it and say, we're gonna allocate funds for that? Do they, what response do you get back? I guess, I'm sure you're having that conversation.
KDOC allocated our starting salary for ISOs to be 38,000
Okay,
for this year.
okay.
Okay.
So for this new position that you're asking for, they're not willing to allocate more funds, is that correct?
The new position, we can't get any more funds from KDOC for new positions because our allocation was flat from last year
Gotcha.
and the year before. And so if I wanted, you know, hypothetically, if I wanted to pay 40,000 for ISO's positions, my budget is going to be the same. And so I guess I could look at, okay, do we not have electricity for half of a day or something to make up for it, because I'm gonna have to find that money somewhere, and we just don't have it in our budget.
And you don't have fees you charge or ways
We
you
do.
give? You do?
We utilize the funds that we have right now
Okay.
to be able to do that. And I'm utilizing funds from portions of our budget that are there for like PTO payout, especially when we look at people that have been here for a long time and then leave. It's instead of just leaving positions vacant for, 4, 5, 6 months to pay for that, we're trying to create a fund that's doing that. And, KDOC has agreed that, yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Because I know that when the previous director and deputy director left at the same time, it was over a year before I could afford to have a deputy director again. And it was a difficult time.
So Pat, when you say that the state's allocation didn't go up, that it was flat,
Correct?
so that's all decided in the state budget, is that correct?
It's
Or,
it's what the state allocates to the Department of Corrections.
do you make any requests to them for additional caseworkers or?
The way that it works is that we can't request more money than what is allocated, because that's what is allocated.
I don't
And,
understand.
and the only place that we can do that is like on the VHS fund, where they don't say this is what you're gonna get, make your budget that amount for this fiscal year. We could request more, and I always do. And then what they do is they come in and they say, okay, we're gonna fund this and this and this, but we're not gonna fund that and that and that. And so, we did get a new position this year for a case manager. Not a case manager, but a facilitator. And so, part of our reorganizing internally is that we're taking people that are doing case management, that we're also facilitating and trying to get them away from doing the facilitation so that they have more time to do case management because of our increased ADP. At the same time, we're trying to hire another facilitator that will be able to take care of the classes to free up that time. So it is a little bit complicated, but it takes a lot of pre-planning, and we do that. But there's still an issue with being able to hire the people that we need to hire.
Yeah.
Well, it seems extremely complicated to me, but I got serious heartburn with you guys going from 150 or 160 cases to now 225 cases, and no ability to request more people or funding from the state for more caseworkers.
Well, and there's not a mechanism in the state to request more money from KDOC to request it from the state, just because of the way that the governor's
budget's
budget
done.
is allocated. I mean, it's, you've got this right here, you need to make some decisions, and, so as a local agency, we're given our little piece of that allocation, and we do the very best with budgeting what we do have in the best way that we can. And, I've got to worry about day-to-day operations,
No,
and it's just,
I remember we had K-State Research Extension, who sent us a budget, and then K-State didn't have the enrollment they had, so they cut all funding back,
Took
like a
that
couple
back.
percent.
yeah.
So they had to refund money back, and they were in a similar situation where they wanted to increase staff and didn't even have it in their budget to do that or give any
Or actually
raises.
pay for the staff that they had.
Yeah, and that was tough to hear too, because it's again, a state control.
and Ford County, they have been providing us the buildings that we're in, and I tell you that there are some agencies that have to pay rent, and we're truly grateful for that.
Do they evaluate some of the other counties out here and say, okay, maybe this county's shrinking, so we're gonna, or their caseload's fallen in half, and we're gonna shift that from another two?
I wish that I could tell you
There was a funding
that,
formula.
yeah, that there.
There's not.
They have kind of a funding formula, but there are some corrections agencies that are in some pretty rural counties that don't have the ADP, and yet they still have to have a community corrections. And
Yeah.
so, it can't be distributed the same, using the same formula for all counties. You know, as far as size-wise, we are, you know, there's 31 agencies, and we sit about, you know, halfway in there as far as the size of agency.
Okay.
And, you know, some of your bigger counties like Johnson County and Sedgwick County, they also have a residential program that's there as well. And, you know, quite a bit of funding goes towards those things as well. But then their counties also kick in a lot to their programs as well.
I think they'd have to, with the size of those areas. Immense. Okay.
Gentlemen, I'm gonna make a motion at this time that we go with staff recommendation that we not approve this additional position right now. That's the motion.
I second it.
With the motion and second, I'll go on to say that JD, Sean, I need you guys to help me understand how this whole funding thing works here and get my head around why this is happening, because I don't understand this.
I don't understand when he's already one position short, he's trying to hire another position, how you gonna pay the, how much you paying the other people that was the one that just left? You said one just left, now you're short two, he's trying to hire another, is that what you said? How was you paying that person?
I could tell you that we were paying them more than 38,000. We had one person that was, with our office that had been there for 8 years, 9 years. And, I mean, and so they were making more.
So the issue here is you need money to fill that next position. You might have, want us to cough up and figure out where to find some money to fill that next position, right? But you already got a position where somebody left. What are you doing about that? Are you
We are
paying the
correct.
electricity bill twice? You're talking, you're sure a smart ass answer about the electricity.
Okay, the vacant position that we have is currently, we have the funding for. And we offered that position to an individual. We were waiting to get a response back. We got a response back today, and they declined the position, so we still have a vacant position. This was an added position besides what we were already funded for.
So if in fact you could fill it, one person would sign up and come to work for you, you have the money to pay them, right?
Correct.
This is just in case that you would be lucky enough to have somebody else drop out of the sky, right? And so you could hire two, right? That's it.
Pretty accurate.
I'm glad I second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We'll dig into it and see if I can understand this better. Thank you, guys. Brings us to the county administrator's report.
Gentlemen, the first item I have on the administrator's report is the charter resolution and the bond process, and this is kind of what we spoke about in the work session. Mr. Garth Herman is here to explain that one more time. In shorthand.
Good afternoon again, Commissioners. Garth Herman with Gilmore Bell. As Mr. Gilbert mentioned, here to discuss formally the charter resolution process. As we spoke about it earlier, the charter resolution, if adopted, will be subject to a 60-day protest period that would begin on the second publication. At the end of that 60-day process, so long as there was no sufficient written protest filed against it, then it would become the law for Ford County. The purpose of the charter resolution is to provide flexibility to the county and the ability to issue general obligation bonds to finance and pay for different types of county road improvements. And unlike most road bonds that would be issued, these bonds would be exempt from the county's debt limit, that 3% max set by state law that sets a cap on the amount of general obligation debt that the county can have outstanding. Like I said, once it goes into effect, assuming that it does, then how it would be used is subsequent to that, whenever there is a county road project that the county commission would like to finance, it would adopt a new resolution. It would set forth a description of the project to be constructed and built, as well as the amount of the general obligation bonds that would be issued to finance that specific project. That resolution would be subject to a simple majority vote of the Board of County Commissioners at that time. And with that being said, I'll sit for any questions that may have popped up over the last hour.
So the roads at 112 and Outlaw, is this what we're talking about?
That is a project that could be, that it could have this charter authority used for it, yes.
And what about, are we involved in helping finance all really getting on into the place on the
Facility.
road?
The entrance.
Entrance?
Mhm.
And two of them, right? You got one on Outlaw and 238, 283 or whatever the heck it is?
Yep, yep.
And then one on the bypass?
Yep. These definitely could be projects that we put towards this, yeah.
So the charter resolution would authorize improvements to any existing or proposed street, road, or highway in the county.
I'm done. I'm ready to go for it.
Is there action we have to take at this point to accept a charter resolution?
Yes, so if there are no other questions, I would request a motion and a second to approve the charter resolution. It will require a unanimous vote since you're a three-member commission.
Yeah.
And then if approved, then I'll get with Debbie to make sure that the publications are set for the publication in the local newspaper. As I mentioned, it will be once a week for 2 consecutive weeks to make sure that those publications are arranged for. And that would be the start of that 60-day protest. But yeah, for purposes of today, motion and a second, and then vote.
Do we have to name a project at this time?
No.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to adopt a charter resolution.
I second it.
A motion and second, do we have any further discussion?
The charter resolution has a number too, you might want to refer to that.
Does it have a number?
It's,
Okay. So I would amend the motion to include 2021-01-CH, which is for the Hillmore Incentive Bond Process.
You continue to second?
I'm not sure what you said.
I added in the number that she,
It had a resolution number.
I second that.
With the motion and second, any further discussion again? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right, let the journey begin.
Thank you all very much.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Garth, for coming.
Good to see you, Mr. Brooks.
Second item is for Chief Officer Rob Lloyd to discuss the Western Kansas Urban Search and Rescue Task Force.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Chief?
The Urban Search and Rescue Task Force that's based out in western Kansas has been with the Garden City Fire Department for several years and has been extremely static in that they were non-deployable because they didn't have enough team members. The personnel that they had in charge of the team had no desire to be deployed. They liked taking all the good stuff, you know, that they sent in. Dodge City Fire Department has been a member of that for as long as I can remember, and they have become very frustrated with the way that the team was ran. In the last year, there's been some personnel changes at the Garden City Fire Department, and they're ready to move forward and get this team up to where it needs to be. We've been asked to join the team along with Dodge City Fire Department and Liberal Fire Department. And it's, like it says, it's urban search and rescue, so when the hurricanes hit or tornadoes hit, we could possibly be deployed to those areas to help with initial search. Once the call's made, we have 2 hours to be ready to deploy. So with the new leadership in Garden City and the few meetings that we've had, I feel very confident that this team will be ran the way it should be. We currently have 4 employees that would like to be on this team. Since we're the only department that does EMS too, we're gonna be tasked with the medical side of it. So, kind of a big deal for us. We've been interested in it for a lot of years, but due to the personnel, we just didn't see that it was a good fit. I think now we're at the point that we're ready to jump on and go.
Just a real quick thing, I had talked to Chief about this, we have staff that, in other departments that want to be able to be first responders in other areas as well. But usually we highly encourage that, and I make sure that we look at this resolution to make sure that our staff can be called back home at any moment. Sometimes when we're going into things like this, sometimes the binding document or MOU, whatever you wanna call it, will state that those staff will have to be deployed for a certain amount of time, no matter what. And usually when that happens, on the admin side, we'll say no. So, in this case, Chief knows and his staff know that if they get deployed to, like, let's just say Junction City for something, and something happens here, they have to come home.
There's a part in this MOU, I don't know if you saw it, but it said if there is a local disaster, the team can be returned back to their local jurisdiction.
Yeah.
This does have to be done by resolution, and basically, the resolution gives me the authority to act on behalf of the team, make decisions.
And that's 4 people from our county would be on this team.
County Fire and EMS.
Okay, and then how many do you think are coming from the city side?
They've got 6, I believe.
Okay.
Liberal's new, so I'm not sure. The reason that we've got all 4 agencies together, so we don't have to send 6 and City Fire has to
Right.
send 6. This way we can spread out our resources and keep a lot more people at home.
Okay. Chief, is it 4 for us because we've got 4 people interested? Or is it 4 gonna be the number?
4's gonna be the number, it sounds like. I had more interested, but we went with 4.
Okay.
Do you foresee a lot of extra expense based on this?
No.
Trainings, travel?
Travel to Garden City,
Yeah.
maybe for some training, but in our meetings, we talked about spreading the training around to all the locations so that not everybody's traveling there all the time.
And in the event this team is deployed and we have people, is that normally a cost that comes in under a disaster type of thing, or?
Yeah, it's completely reimbursable, does.
Okay. All right. I'd make a motion to approve the resolution for the Western Kansas Urban Search and Rescue Task Force number 2021-20.
I second it.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Chief.
We're awful proud of you about that.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, next item is the resolution 2021-21 road vacation petition. And County Council Glenn Kurtz presented that to you.
Okay, this has been long coming. Doyle Cinnamon filed a petition to vacate 1,000 feet of 108 Road between Horseshoe and Garnett Road. And so this is the start of the process that the county goes through in order to vacate that stretch of 108 Road. I brought some photos along, even though eventually you'll get to see it in person as road viewers as you go forward. But there's not a whole lot of road left to be vacated. And so this is the start of the process. The process is for you to adopt 2021-21 resolution, decide that you will serve as the 3 road viewers. The road viewers are to just basically view the road. It's something that has to be published so that anyone could appear and observe the viewing. And then also we hold a public hearing to finalize the action to vacate. And what we're proposing in the resolution is to view the road on the afternoon of October the 18th, and then come back after the road viewing and have the public hearing. That's a regular scheduled meeting date of the commission is the 18th of October. I did mention something to JD about that date. That's also the KAC meeting in Overland Park. And I didn't know if we'd have the commissioners available to do it on that date. So if not, we'll want to change that date of October the 18th.
Right now, I think I'm registered, but we got voting obligations and stuff up there too, so.
And that's on item number 6 on the agenda today, to determine whether or not we have that meeting.
Yeah, because the county councilors also meet, in Overland Park during the KAC, and so that's something I typically attend as well. So that's the resolution. If you want to change, can we take number 6 up right now?
Yeah, I guess so, it's up to the commission, yeah.
Because it is important to have that date because we have to get publication notice.
Okay, so we know on number 6 that KAC dates, so it'd be more than beneficial for us to change this date to a different.
Probably so, and we can't do it at the first meeting in October because it would not give us sufficient time to do the publication notice for 2 times for 2 consecutive weeks. So we would want to look beyond the 18th meeting to maybe, I don't know if you're gonna meet on another day shortly though, after that.
The next one would be October 7th.
Yeah, but the commission's probably going to want to meet sometime, because otherwise they'd only have 1 meeting in that month of October.
I don't know, I'm awful busy.
We almost need to move that meeting to the next week, because the KAC is a three-day deal there, we won't be, and, unless we wanted to move it to the 21st after we get back, but
You might have something to do when we get back. Since you may know
See your family.
So maybe move that to the 25th of October, the meeting date.
just have two meetings on October 4th?
One in the morning and one in the afternoon.
That's our two meetings for October.
Oh, 2 in 1 day. Get your request in quick. How about the 26th? Does that work?
Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesdays, are those days better?
Twenty-fifth is out for you. Monday.
No, not necessarily, it's just, those are busy days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Mondays are pretty busy. I could do Monday, it would just be,
I can do Tuesday too, as far as that goes.
Tuesday's a better day for me.
Okay. Would you like to make the motion?
Sure.
You gotta do the meeting date first.
Yeah, for the meeting date. That's what I'm asking.
Okay.
So, Tuesday the 26th? So we make a motion, I would make a motion that we approve resolution 2021-21 for road vacation petition. And have a viewing for Tuesday the 26th of October.
I would second. With a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Glenn, is there a time that works good for the viewing?
Well, I'd picked 2 o'clock,
Okay.
and then we'd come back here so that you could have your meeting at 3, so we don't have to do it twice, or interrupt the day.
Okay. Viewing at 2 o'clock.
Commissioners will serve as the viewers.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenda.
Gentlemen, next item is number 4, the Western State Bank Expo event addendum.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Danielle.
So if you remember back in June of 2020, there was an event addendum that was approved by this commission that went out to all of the existing employees relating to COVID-19 and things that we would just ask them to do. That was reapproved back in October of last year. And so I just come before you today to see if you want to carry forward with this again, to keep it active, or to just let it fall off of the rental requirements as we have it now.
So real quick on that, on the addendum, when you guys first put this into place, I think we left it up to admin and Danielle to kind of work through the modifications as we move through this process. But before we made any modifications, we want to know if we even want that addendum anymore at all. Because we can't take it away, we can modify it on the admin side, but the commission will have to take it away. So before we even go through a modification process, we want to know if you want to keep it in effect or not.
Let me ask a question. Is the addendum on a time schedule that if we don't do anything here, it falls off? Or does it continue the way it is?
I feel like it, I can't remember right now, but I feel like it was just kind of left open, that we would have to come back to address it. I think we did that on purpose.
Okay. We know how I'm inclined.
Go ahead.
I make a motion to discontinue the use of the event addendum as discussed.
I'll second that.
With the motion and a second, do we have any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is the discussion on depreciation and replacement fund. At the last joint city-county meeting, Commissioner Tassett, you stated that you wanted to be able to have a conversation with Commissioner Boyes as well, so we made time on the agenda for that.
Dr. Fletcher. Commissioner, were you able to have any kind of discussion with admin about discussion that was had at the last joint meeting
Yeah.
regarding the depreciation fund?
Well, not in regards to the depreciation fund itself, but just as a catch-up, but more about, I think it was more about a discussion between the Western State Bank Expo and its allocated money and the depot and its allocated money. I mean, that's more the discussion I had. It wasn't necessarily about depreciation.
So I think the narrative that was kind of coming forth from the city side of it is that it's the allocation that goes to the depot and to the expo center that is the culprit for depreciating that, or but for lack of a better word, robbing the depreciation fund. And I took issue with that statement at that meeting. I did not feel like that was an honest representation of the history of how that happened. There was a fair amount of discussion about the amount of revenue that comes in from Western State Bank Expo Center or some of the other projects around that get funding from that particular fund. And what's the name of that account? Organizational. Sorry, I drew a blank there for a minute, but got several other, Young Guns and Roundup Rodeo, several other events. I'm not gonna remember all of them that get money from that, along with the $300,000 for the Expo Center and the payment that goes down for the depot. And so I felt like out of all of the things that gather funding from organizational funding, that really all of them bring revenue into the community, except one. And that the narrative that was being put forth there about the way this fund was being used was the reason that depreciation was underfunded, was dishonest.
Yeah, I agree.
I felt like that was not right at all. When the water park was being built and we were trying to figure out how to finance that, the depreciation fund was brought to us as a piece of money that was way overfunded.
Yeah.
And that we were covered with insurance policies for any kind of major shortfall, and that money we could use that money out of that fund at that time to help finance the water park. And that's the way I remember it.
Well, I guess to give some background, when the Western State Bank Expo Center was coming as a concept, the idea was a rushed project that would be a Why Not Dodge dedicated project. That was the conversation the entire time. I actually served at that point as chairman of the board for the Chamber of Commerce. I was not on the county commission. So I was brought into private meetings in this room right back here and talked to about, as chairman of the board, will you be able to provide the staff to put on a 3i show? And I thought it was just very interesting that I have lived in the two towns that the 3i show were bouncing back and forth between. Great Bend, where I grew up, my mom and my dad both are on those boards. And my father was actually one of the people that actually had all the detailed numbers of exactly how many people you need for people movers, how many people you need for every single event. And he was very detailed in that. And then on the flip side of it, I'd lived in Garden City, where I had seen it over there as well. I knew people that had ran that one. Krista Monaco was one of the bigger ones, who's from Cimarron. Her daughter works for me. It's one of those things I thought was very interesting of the position I was put in because I'd seen it. So I knew the amount of people, and basically I'd had conversations with people that worked within our organization of the chamber at the time, for Dodge City, and said, yes, we can handle this. You know, I was there to basically share with the county commission, the city commission, that if we make this a Why Not Dodge project, we can handle the manpower, right? It's all volunteer funding, but people want that project here. They want the 3i show to go on. So that's where we partnered with the community partnered with the Western State Bank business, got the building, had it come down here, built and designed it. It was a rush project in order to get done, so the 3i show would be here. By this point, I'm actually now serving on the county commission. And we were basically coming to the end of the project where we were buttoning it up, basically making sure that all the funding was there and the mechanisms were in place. And there seemed to be some sort of a game between the city and county, which I didn't understand at first, but it was basically the rub that I think people talked about in the community. Yes, it's supposed to be Why Not Dodge, but it never got applied for properly the first time, but then there was this back and forth between Kim Goodnight and Ken Small, or Ken Strobel, who basically said, you know, it was a he said, she said. Well, you said, let's rush to get it done. If there were forms to be filled out, we should have had the forms filled out properly. Well, as a commission, we felt like we were kind of jaded, that now we have this big expense that we weren't expecting. We thought it'd be paid for with Why Not Dodge money. I can tell you that through the entire process, the depot was never discussed. It was never known to be a Why Not Dodge project. And it just seemed like as the county kept pressuring to say, hey, you need to cover this debt, there became a conversation of, you cover half, we'll cover half. You know, every single thing that we put on out there fills your hotels, and you get the bed tax. Every single thing that goes on has people at your casino or the casino, and we all share in that revenue. Every single thing that goes on is sales tax revenue generation from people going out to eat, and that falls back into this fund. So that fund should pay for these things, and we rushed, and basically it was put on the county because the county owned the property. So from that point moving forward, the depot seemed to almost be an offset from the city to say, well, hey, we'll take $250, and you guys already get $50,000 for your administration, and at that time they got $150,000 for their administration. So in a sense, they got $350,000, or actually it'd be a little bit more than that, $400,000 is what they ended up getting. We got the 300 plus the 50, so we got 350, and it was kind of told to us that you're just gonna have to accept that's how it's gonna be. And none of that's really sat well with us because the depot is not a generator like the expo. The expo in my mind is very much a driver and was built for sales tax revenue. And the depot basically was a theater company, and at one time the theater company was looking at moving away from it because of, they were told that they had to replace the roof. And I know that they came in front of the county commission because at that time I served on that board. And that was my very first time to actually enter this room and see this commission. And I know Kim Goodnight sat here and he wouldn't even look at us. And he even said, I don't know what they're doing here because without that sales tax money, I won't give any, there's no projects in Fort County. They're all in city limits of Dodge City. And if it's a Why Not Dodge project, or if it's a Fort County needs a Fort County project, so he said, you better put the steps on my Windhorse Church, which is what he said, or else I'm not doing anything. And I get that point of, I'm gonna hold firm, because I think as a commission, we also need to hold firm that The 250 that the city is getting for the building over here is not really, that should be put in depreciation if that's where they want it. We're not arguing for more projects, but there are no more projects going on in Ford County. I mean, they're all within the footprint of the city limits. So I would say that the 300,000 for the depot, the expo, needs to be firm. And I would say the 250 that's given to the depot, in my mind, can just go away. If they wanna put that towards depreciation, they are welcome to. I mean, we got rid of the 50,000 that we used to give the administration, but they got rid of their 150 that they had for their admin. I mean, that, in my mind, why did we lose our money, but they didn't lose theirs? We're not going out and looking at projects anymore, we're not managing the development of a big civic center or United Wireless Arena is basically what it was at the time that they were talking about as a civic center. But that's what that money was for. And that's gone, but the city continues to get that.
And there was some discussion about, you know, trying to get the Why Not Dodge Fund back to the point where we could start talking about projects again, which is, you know, what that was in for. But, you know, as we go on through these years, these projects that we built right now, they're coming home to roost as far as maintenance.
Yep.
Repairs, you know, those things that depreciation fund was supposed to be there for. And until we solve that problem, there's gonna be no more discussions about new projects. There's really not even a need for a CFAB board right now.
Right.
If we don't have the funding to really consider new projects.
Right.
And in my estimation, the need for the depreciation fund is gonna do nothing right now but expand because of the aging facilities that we have.
Yeah. I mean, the racetrack was just addressed. I mean, I think that rebadging it with all the signage, I mean, I think that gives it a fresh look. I think having what they did out there, I think really did address the facility. But when you look at, you know, a fund that they were saying they as in the city commission, it seems like they were saying we should have 750,000 put in there each year. I mean, if they want to take the 250 that's for the building over here, they're welcome to take that and put it in there and start building that pot up. But I don't understand the big number, the 750. I just, because like we said, insurance would cover major exposure to a building if it's a tornado or fire or something.
JD, was this just on for discussion today? Was, okay, we didn't have any kind of action that needed to be taken on it, right? I mean, Commissioner Snook, you've been pretty quiet, sorry. We've
Well,
kind of
I
dominated
was
the
at the same
conversation.
meeting, I was same meeting when Kent come up with the garbage about $25,000 given to Young Guns, and when he said that everybody at Young Guns was paid a salary, and most of them didn't live in the state, which was all garbage, and, you know, I can tell you something else about that depot. You know, who gave them permission to buy that depot, and I have a letter from the Santa Fe? It's me.
Wow.
And I have that letter in my files, because my wife wanted to make that into a deal where little stores can go in and shop.
Mhm.
She'd seen one in California, she come home with a big idea, and I promoted that deal to a guy by the name of Art Ebner. Y'all probably remember him. And he said, Kenny, I'm not interested. And that was the end of the deal. But then the city got interested in the building, and the guy in Topeka said, you'll have to ask Mr. Snook. So I got a phone call from Kent over there, and he wanted to know if it was permission. I said, I'd give it. So he flew my wife and I up to Topeka to meet with the deal, so they wanted me to sign off up there.
Wow.
So I know a little bit about that. goes on here. I have to tell you, I don't really know, but I know one thing. If you're right about the swimming pool and things like that, or AC, we're talking about redoing all these buildings right here, like, you know, we're talking about this. Somewhere in this fund, they need to start to build up some money to take care of things like that. You know, that was his point every time he's talked about it. I know, talk to those people, you gotta start gathering up some money so we can have to pay these bills.
And to make a clarification on my part is, as far as the depot goes, that is a beautiful building.
Yes.
And
Very well maintained.
it's well maintained, it's been renovated down there, you guys got your offices, and I love that building down there, and I love that it's been saved. You know, it needed to be, that's a huge piece of history here that I don't think we should have lost, but that doesn't change this conversation here, so that's, anyway. That's the discussion I have on it. If anybody else has anything else, please jump in. If not, we will move on.
Last item on the agenda is the upcoming meetings. And speaking of CFAB, we do have a CFAB meeting 6:30, September 28th. That's Tuesday, that'll be at the Commission Chambers at City Hall. We have the KDOT biannual local consult, that's a virtual option, October 5th. It'll be from 9:30 a.m. until 12:30 p.m. And we have the Kansas Association of Counties, KC Annual Conference, October 18th through the 20th. That'll be at the Sheraton Hotel, Overland Park Convention Center. Same time, we'll also have the K-Work and K-Camp meetings. The KNRC webinar will be October 21st, 2021 at 10 a.m. And that will be issues dealing with the lesser prairie chicken. Then we have the 2021 Dodge City Economic Outlook Conference. It'll be 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's Friday, October 22nd at United Wireless Arena. And that is all I have for the.
Mr. Chairman, on dates, going back to the road closure, I do have something on my calendar for Tuesday, the 26th. I've been asked to go teach a farm ranch insurance class in a neighboring community, and that's at 10 a.m. in the morning. It may be done by 2, but I think I'd be pushing it to get back here for a meeting if we're gonna have something after as well. So it might be better if I move that to a Monday. Does that work? Monday's still open?
25th
Uh-huh.
is, okay. So, can we, do we need to, make a motion to?
Do you have to change
Made a
anything on
motion
that? Do you have to
to
change
make a
anything on that
motion.
resolution?
I'm sorry?
Do you have to change anything on the resolution? Because
We'll
the
just
meeting-
change the date from the 18th to the 25th. We can just do that.
Same
Okay.
time, 2 o'clock?
25th at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
And so, JD, we did the resolution for the road closure hearing, but did we skip over then this about changing the actual meeting date?
No, because I think he made the motion all in one time. I think he combined the two in the same motion.
Yeah, it was all one.
Yeah.
Okay. So then our regular commission meeting will be on the 25th as well. 3 o'clock if we have a work session.
Do we have a meeting then?
Well,
It's
we have
supposed
to
to be
change
on
it
the
from the
18th.
18th because of the KAC conference.
That's true.
that's why I was asking, I felt like we skipped over us
The thought.
an item right here.
Yep.
But it was, I guess it was all combined together with that. All right. I guess that's it.
What about that department report by the Ford County Health Department?
That's given every meeting, we have one of those at the end of.
It's attached.
It's an attachment at
It's
the
an
end.
attachment that you have.
Every 2 weeks we get
There
one.
you go.
But
I was not at that attachment.
She's really wanting to speak though, look at her.
I'm good, good today.
I wanted to
You
ask
have
her a question
questions?
anyhow.
Is that right, Patty?
Yes, yes, she was fine.
I want
I
to
was
ask you a
holding her back,
question
I'm
before you
holding her
leave.
back.
Okay.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thanks for that, Bill.
Without a second, we're in. Motion second, all those in favor? Aye.